A brand new $400 million drilling rig has to go from South Korea to Europe. 31,000 tons pulled by just a single tug, connected by just one steel cable.
One of the wires of the connection could break.
Potentially lethal for the crew.
Always you need to be careful on the wire. If any tension coming, we need to just run away.
A unique mega transport, halfway around the world. Ulsan, South Korea, Hyundai Heavy Industries, the largest shipyard in the world. And the birthplace of this giant, the West Bollsta, the largest semi-submersible drilling rig in the world. It is 122 meters long and fully loaded weighs 31,000 tons, as much as 55 Airbus A380s. With a maximum drilling depth of 12 kilometers. Theoretically, it could drill through Mount Everest almost 1.5 times. From the very bottom to the top, it measures 122 meters, making it taller than the Statue of Liberty. It took all of 6 years to make, and now it is finished. And ready for its first deployment. A full 25,000 kilometers away. From the starting point in Ulsan, South Korea, the rig will head to Indonesia, and then through the Sunda Strait. From there, the route leads across the Indian Ocean and around the Cape of Good Hope. In 90 days, the team will arrive at their destination, Tenerife, Spain. This epic journey begins in just a few hours. But not before this man gives the final go, Oscar Wiklund, master of the rig.
So let's go have a look here on the seat fastening.
The surface area of the West Bollsta is larger than a football field. Master Oscar's assignment before any departure, secure every square inch of it.
It's really important that everything of our equipment we have on decks around the rig, which are loose, it's secured like this. Because during the transit we do expect and can expect to have some movements, some bad weather, strong winds. And we need to be prepared for that.
One lifeboat alone weighs almost 20 tons. If it comes loose on the high seas, it would be life-threatening for the crew. But even smaller loose parts are a safety problem, especially if they fall off the West Bollsta's derrick.
Yeah, the derrick is very high. It's straight underneath from we're standing here now, all the way to the top, straight underneath 80 meters. So it's high. It takes time to climb.
Fortunately, there's an elevator. It takes about a minute to top out on the derrick deck. Together with 40 workers, Master Oscar will be on the West Bollsta throughout the entire mega transport. The crew uses the crossing for some final preparatory work. If problems arise on the way, they can react quickly.
For the coming 3 months, we're gonna have the towing vessel in front of us. So that's gonna be exciting.
Transport to Europe will be carried out by a special tractor. It's a rather unusual transport method. Normally, big drilling rigs are transported using semi-submersible heavy lift vessels. But this is not possible with the West Bollsta. The reason is the propulsion system. It has a total of 8 thrusters directly under its pontoons. With these thrusters, it holds its position above a wellhead when operating, or moves from one location to the next. If it were transported with a semi-submersible, it would rest on the thrusters and damage them. Later in the afternoon comes the moment of truth. Master Oscar gives his go for the casting off. It takes an excavator to move the heavy ropes that hold the huge drilling rig to the pier. The anchors of the West Bollsta are so gigantic, each of them weighs 18 tons. Too heavy for the platform's own anchor windlasses. Here in the harbor, a crane lifts it. On the open sea, a specific vessel arrives for this maneuver. The very first stage of the transport is carried out by harbor tugs. 6 of them are needed to move the West Bollsta. Six years after the shipyard staff welded together the first steel plates for the drilling rig, the giant is now leaving its birthplace. And setting off on what will probably be its longest journey. 25,000 kilometers at a stretch to the other side of the world. The star of this mega transport is the ALP Striker, the world's most powerful ocean-going tug. 89 meters long, 21 meters wide, and with a top speed of the equivalent of 35 kilometers per hour. Thanks to her engine strength of over 24,000 horsepower, she has a bollard pull of 309 tons, more than any other tug in the world. Responsible that the $400 million rig reaches its destination on time and undamaged is this man, Kees Pronk, the captain of the ALP Striker.
Steady as she goes.
As one of the tug company's most experienced captains, he knows that a lot can happen during the 3 months of towing a drilling rig over the high seas.
It's a huge drilling rig. According to the papers, it's one of the biggest drilling rigs in the world. So it's also very nice that the biggest ocean-going tug will tow the biggest drilling rig. Of course, it's a challenge. It's a trip halfway around the world. We can expect some bad weather, of course, during the voyage.
The pressure is high. At the destination in Europe, they're already eagerly awaiting the delivery of the West Bollsta. Every day of delay means a 6-figure loss for the rig operator and hefty cost overruns for the tug company. Captain Kees plans to spend the rest of the day preparing the 2-kilometer-long towing configuration, a steel wire and chain construction. Then, first thing in the morning, they'll begin connecting it. While everything on deck is going according to plan, on the bridge, the first problem has already presented itself.
We are now in contact with the VTS. They gave us an anchor position. Only it's a little bit too far from the drilling rig, so stand by. Ulsan VTS, Striker, go ahead.
In order not to lose any time the next day, Captain Kees wants to anchor as close as possible to the drilling rig, but the Port Authority has some objections.
What is your safe distance from the West Bollsta? Then we will look for a position. What is the minimum safe distance?
The minimum safe distance are at least 5 cables, 0.5 nautical miles.
The Port Authority insists on a greater safety distance. The risk of a collision is too high. Captain Case has to find a compromise.
Yes, this is ALP Striker. We find a new position, 0.6 cables, 0.6 nautical miles from the West Bollsta.
If the Port Authority rejects the proposal, the whole schedule will be ruined.
North and 129 degrees, 04.
ALP Striker, please check this position and you can drop it.
Copy that. The position is good. We will proceed to that and we will let you know when we drop our anchor. Thank you. Stand by. All right, let's go to that position.
Just over a kilometer from the rig, the ALP Striker finally anchors. The last quiet night for the tug crew. The next day, 6 in the morning. In 8 hours, at the latest, Captain Case wants to leave South Korea with a huge rig in tow.
I'm turning the vessel now and slowly proceeding to the West Bollsta, and then we will start making preparations for our on deck. And once we are ready in the West Bollsta, we will start.
Despite the time pressure, the crew must take care not to make any mistakes during the connecting process. After all, the connection has to last a full 3 months. To make sure the tug can pull the 31,000-ton rig on its own, it requires an ingenious system of chains and steel cables. First, the crew mounts a steel wire in combination with massive chains to the pontoons of the rig. A part called Delta Plate connects the 2 wires to the ALP Striker's 8-centimeter thick main towing wire. Thanks to this triangular arrangement, the tensile forces are spread evenly. This relieves the load on the fixing points and wires and makes them more durable. It also enhances maneuverability. 2 emergency wires ensure that the ALP Striker can reconnect to the West Bollsta in case the main connection snaps during a storm. The captain's right-hand man responsible for a safe wire connection is Chief Mate Dmitry Nefedov.
Very good condition. Everything already done, prepared, just small thing. But anyway, step by step, we will fix any issue will comes.
Dmitry can't count the number of times he has discussed the mounting plan with his team over the last few days. Whether or not it will work will only become clear in the next few hours.
We'll see. I believe everything goes smoothly.
Captain Case is moving the tug into position. The team is ready to go. Step 1. Attach the 2 60-meter-long emergency wires to the rig's anchor chains. During the crossing, they hang loose and are only used in case of an emergency.
Deck bridge. Okay, they lowering down the pennant. Please, one guy in contact with the crane for the handling.
The West Bollsta crane lifts the first of the huge anchor chains onto the deck of the tug. A safety pin keeps them in place while they're being connected to make sure no one gets hurt.
It's dangerous work. It's really dangerous. Because always under tension, all equipment, all gears, and very heavy. You can see it.
This shackle alone weighs almost 150 kilograms. It connects the anchor chain with the emergency wire.
The pin of the shackle will fit through the chain, there's no issue?
Yeah, no issue. You need to move a little bit.
This is a mega transport in which even the smallest parts are huge. On the bridge, one thing counts above all else: keep calm.
I'm keeping at the moment the vessel in a proper position and having the complete overview that the vessel stays in position, the crew on deck is working good. I'm not really busy with like the guys on deck with wires, shackles and things like that, but in my mind, yeah, it's making overtime.
Because in the end, no matter who makes the mistake, he's responsible. On deck, the crew has now attached the first emergency wire to the anchor chain.
Next step, crane, drop down, wire, and hook up to another end of this pennant. Pick up and move away. One step down.
The crane lifts the chain and the emergency wire back onto the rig. In case the main connection breaks during the journey, the rig crew attaches a light buoy to it and throws the wire into the water. It's the only chance they have to reconnect.
Okay guys, clear. Be careful, here. Clear, inside.
Once you can take out safety pin. Cut the pin.
The first step is complete. The emergency wires are in position.
Well, we calculated for the whole procedures to take about an hour, and it also took 1 hour. So at the moment we are on schedule, no delay, so everything goes fine at the moment.
Only now does the crew begin with the most important step, connecting the drilling rig and the tug. Captain Case needs to change the tug's position. To attach the massive steel chains to the pontoons of the drilling rig, the ALP Striker has to drive extremely close to the rig. Chief Mate Dmitry gives final instructions to his crew.
I don't know, no idea. Maybe good luck?
They can certainly use that. Dmitry's primary assistant on deck is bosun Razel Dialeg. He's coordinating the deck crew. For the maneuver, a part of the tug crew transfers to the West Bollsta. The plan is to connect one pontoon at a time. To get the chain from the tug to the pontoon, the ALP Striker has to get even closer to the rig, just 5 meters away. Neither of them is firmly anchored. In order to minimize the risk of a collision, the crew attaches a radar amplifier at the West Bollsta. It amplifies the position signal for the ALP Striker. That way, the onboard computer can hold the tugboat's position accurate to an incredible 20 centimeters, in spite of the swell.
You need to connect it lower hoist to the masting and bring directly inside the Smith breaker.
With the hoist, they pull the chain over.
Okay, yeah, keep it.
They're all under a lot of pressure. The tension is high. They know that any mistake they make now will not become apparent until they're already on the high seas, pulling their $400 million freight.
Now it's very main step. We need to connect third chain, chafing chain to Smith bracket. It's not so easy.
The part attached directly to the pontoon is called the chafing chain. It alone weighs a good 4 tons, as much as 3 small cars.
I need 3 or 4 people to take this one, to lift this one.
It takes time to position the unwieldy iron chain with centimeter precision. Captain Case is getting impatient.
Guys, above the pin you have a vertical bar, that's for hammering. Use the vertical bar on top of it for hammering. Yes, thank you. There is always a small chance that something could happen, like one of the wires of the connection could break.
Finally, the crew succeeds in positioning the chain. A 25 centimeter thick bolt holds it in place.
Everything is fine. We almost finished the job.
Lubricating grease in the lead should prevent the solid steel from breaking due to friction. The preparations for the spectacular mega transport are half done. Now, it's time for connecting the second pontoon. By now, the team is experienced with this specific set of gear. In the early afternoon, both pontoons of the rig are connected to the ALP Striker. Captain Case wants to avoid starting in the dark because there is a lot of traffic around the coast.
Once they are back on board, we will slowly move to the center, more to port, and then we will pay out the side, and then we will start making the final connection on the delta plate.
The last step is to connect the chains that the crew has attached to the pontoons of the rig to the main towing wire. The connecting piece, the so-called delta plate, is a solid steel plate. It will be underwater during the entire transport. That means they can't monitor it along the way. The team also secures each connection using a cotter pin. It prevents the huge screws from loosening due to the enormous load.
Put on the pin for left. Okay, put on the pin.
Now comes the decisive moment. The wire construction has to be under tension before they can tell whether the crew has done a good job.
Yeah, I am happy because everybody alive, it's the first priority. and job is done as well, successfully.
The connection is established. The mega transport is ready for its journey halfway around the world. Just in time, shortly before nightfall, the team leaves for Europe. They should arrive there in just 90 days. The first big stage of the route leads the team from Ulsan in South Korea across the Indian Ocean to Walvis Bay in Namibia. There, they will replenish supplies, refuel, and swap part of the crew. On the way there are short stops in Singapore and Mauritius. The first stage is scheduled to take 65 of the total 90 planned days. At first, the team is lucky. The weather is agreeable. At around 13 kilometers per hour, they are even faster than planned. On day 20, they are already approaching the Sunda Strait. But it is winter in Asia, and the weather can change at any time. On ALP Striker's bridge, Captain Case therefore constantly checks the forecast.
Four times per day we receive an update of the weather, and then we can closely monitor that, see if there is bad weather coming or less favorable weather, and according those forecasters, then we can decide if we stay on the route or we will change a little bit our heading to avoid bad weather, or to look for the current, because when you are towing, it's also very important.
Avoiding bad weather is the top priority, because the more wind, the higher the swell, the slower the ALP Striker can go. A storm would mean a complete stop and a costly delay to the mega transport by several days. The West Bollsta is extremely sensitive to wind. During transport, the rig has a draft of only 13 meters and floats on the water. Its large superstructures work like a sail. Strong wind could carry her far away. In the worst-case scenario, the wire connection could break. To avoid that, the West Bollsta crew can initiate a plan called survival draft. They flood their ballast tanks in the pontoons with seawater, sinking the rig a further 7 meters. This shifts its center of gravity and stabilizes the rig. Day 30 of the mega transport. In the meantime, the team has reached the Indian Ocean. The supervision of the valuable cargo is a full-time job for the captain and his officers.
Most important thing is the tension meter, the graph, how the tension is going. If it is too jumpy, then you can reduce the power, and if it's more or less steady, then keep going. Yeah, and also the traffic around you, some vessels. In our area could be some fishing vessels, but it's kind of very hard to detect using our radar, so you better have to keep a very good lookout.
A ship passing between tug and rig could, in the worst case, damage the main towing wire. During transport, enormous forces act on the wire connection at all times. So far, the connection is held. But there are still almost 15,000 kilometers to go. That's why Captain Case regularly checks the connection with his drone. The earlier he discovers any damage, the greater the chance of being able to repair it in time. His main focus is on the attachment points of the chains. Waves, salt water, and up to 100 tons of tensile force also affect the massive iron chains.
Look at the connection on the pontoon, see if the quick release bracket is still good. Here at the Panama lead, there are no damages or things like that.
Everything looks good there, but there is a problem with the emergency wire. The waves have tangled it up on the pontoon.
So in case of the main tow line connection is breaking and we need to connect on the emergency pennant, it will not be possible on the aft side because it's turned around this bollard. So I will inform West Bollsta now, the OIM, to see if they can solve this problem, if they can do it now or otherwise in the next port of call.
A dangerous situation that Captain Case only recognized in good time, thanks to regular drone checks.
West Bollsta, ALP Striker.
ALP Striker, West Bollsta.
During the entire mega transport, the rig is manned by almost 40 personnel. Their task is to intervene quickly in precisely such cases. Due to its huge size and its draft of 13 meters, the West Bollsta creates a lot of resistance. An enormous load for the engines of the ALP Striker, which must run constantly on full power. Therefore, the engine control room of the tug is manned around the clock. Denis Shumakov is the chief engineer on board.
Here on this vessel, it's a lot of equipment, you know, a lot of systems. Just to find it time if we have some leaking, if we have some problems, if we have some abnormals. Because a lot of equipment in same moment running here.
Although all technology is computer monitored, Chief Engineer Denis and his team take a tour of the engine room every 4 hours. First item on the checklist, the 4 6,100 horsepower engines of the ALP Striker. Denis checks the pressure in the cylinders. Next up is the control room.
Could be wrong. Some problem with frequency, some problem with load, some problem with another insulation, more or less. Actually, we have electrician, but in any cases, it's included in our round, you know, to be sure.
Last stop, the propeller shafts. They run through the entire vessel. After half an hour, the tour is finished.
So round is done, all okay.
And the next check is due in just 3.5 hours. Almost all crew members are on board during the entire 3-month mega transport. A long time without family, friends, and home comforts. This makes shared events, such as the Sunday barbecue on deck, all the more important. And the crew doesn't forget to have some fun. They especially enjoy karaoke.
Ulang mo, number man. Ganyan, okay. Okay mo?
Over the next few weeks, mile by mile, the team approaches its intermediate destination in Namibia. On the high seas, the ALP Striker pulls the drilling rig at a distance of almost 2 kilometers behind it. The greater the distance between tug and tow, the deeper the wire sags. This acts as a shock absorber, reducing the tension and thus protects the main towing wire and the chain anchors on the rig. This is the only way for the connection to survive the continuous load. However, this is only possible in deep water. Due to its own weight, the main towing wire hangs extremely low. At a full length of 2,000 meters, the deepest point is 120 meters below the surface. In shallow water, the steel cable would grind on the rocky seabed and break. So, when they are near a coastline, the crew has to pull the rig at a distance of around 400 meters minimum. Day 64 of the mega transport. Tomorrow, the team will call at the port of Namibia. So the crew has to start shortening the main towing wire now.
You just need to pay good attention when you are heaving in the wire, that you do it easy, not too fast, because then you can get to too high tensions on the wire.
A 10-centimeter thick rubber sheath protects the wire at the stern roller to keep it from chafing and damaging. In order to shorten the wire, this protector must now be removed. Bosun Rozel's deck crew is getting ready.
Striker bridge deck.
Yes, bridge deck, go ahead.
Yeah, we're ready now.
Yeah, okay, you can start removing the clamps for the fixed protectors.
Roger that, start removing the clamps.
The wire is under extreme tension throughout the entire task.
It's really dangerous to work here, especially when the weather is moving. I mean, the vessel is moving all the time, so you have to be very careful, and also on the wire. You have to be very careful on it, and you have to watch each other.
A single wave can cause the 8-centimeter thick steel wire to jump and hit one of the crew members, potentially fatal.
Okay. Dun nyo natalhin.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, okay, please heave up the wire.
West Bollsta, Striker.
Striker, Bollsta.
Yeah, good afternoon. For your information, we will start heaving some tow wire. We will let you know once finished, and then we give the new length.
The main towing wire is attached to a huge winch that can handle up to 13 meters per minute. But after a short time, Captain Case has to stop.
Deck, bridge, Rozel. Yeah, we have some fishing line on the tow wire, so can you go to the aft, check with the guys, and cut away if necessary?
Okay, no problem. Yeah, we'll go on deck now.
Yeah, thank you.
During the tow, the team has ran across a fishing line, which has wrapped itself around the main wire. If they don't remove it, it will get caught in the winch and block it.
These lines can be kilometers long.
Captain Case is afraid they'll lose a lot of time. The anchorages and tanker in the port in Walvis Bay are already booked. Each hour of delay costs thousands of dollars.
I got no line anymore.
Over the next few hours, they shorten the main towing wire meter by meter, while the ALP Striker begins its approach along the East African coast. They reach Walvis Bay as planned in the morning of day 65 of the mega transport.
Nice to see some land again after 4 weeks. 4 weeks ago we left Port Louis in Mauritius.
Here in Walvis Bay, the tug and rig have to replenish supplies and refuel. For safety reasons, they may not be connected when refueling. Responsible for disconnecting is Chief Mate Daniel Froiku. Again, they have to work quickly and with as much care as possible. After all, the wire construction is still under tension.
Always we need to be careful on the wire. If any tension coming, we need to just run away. The captain will drive from the bridge, so if he's losing position, it can become a big angle. On a big angle, the wire can just snap like in 1 second.
The plan is to uncouple the main wire and transfer the towing connection to West Bollsta. That saves a lot of time. The downside is that the tug has to drive extremely close to the rig. To avoid a crash, the West Bollsta must retain a precise position. Therefore, its dynamic positioning system constantly analyzes wind, waves, and satellite information concerning the position of the rig. From this data, the program calculates the thrust and angle of the thrusters, which hold the rig in place, making adjustments automatically. Thanks to this system, the West Bollsta can maintain its position to an accuracy of ½ meter, even with waves reaching 5 meters high. For safety reasons, specially trained operators constantly monitor the control system on the West Bollsta bridge. Should the computer fail, they can intervene in an emergency.
At this moment, we have around 10 knots wind and calm sea. So it's enough to use 4 thrusters from 8 available. We are able to keep the position up to 20 centimeters.
The crew of the ALP Striker detaches the chain construction from the main towing wire.
1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Always stop.
Then they have to attach the whole thing to the West Bollsta crane. They finish it in record time. The entire task took just 1.5 hours.
Everything was good. Everybody still 10 fingers, that's important. So now we're getting ready again the deck for connection for today or tomorrow.
Straight onto the next task, because unless they leave Walvis Bay within 24 hours, the mega transport won't reach its final destination in Tenerife on time. They still have 24 hours of hard work. Both the ALP Striker and the West Bollsta have to refuel. In order to achieve this, special tankers go to the anchorage. After almost 2 months of traveling, the storerooms of the ALP Striker are empty. Captain Case has ordered food worth several $1,000s. The entire crew, from the officer to the engine operator, will pitch in to help storing the supplies. And everyone is looking forward to dinner. They also take advantage of the stop to conduct an external inspection of the tug. At the rear of the tug, Chief Mate Daniel discovers an unusual substance.
This is not normal what we have now, all this white. Looks like some algae, but at the beginning I was thinking maybe some oil. And it's attacking the silicone, but it looks like only some algae. Okay, go to port side.
All clear, fortunately. While his crew continues to inspect the vessel below, up on the bridge, Captain Case is already preparing to cast off.
So the weather for the next days is looking really good. It's important that for the first 2 48 hours we need good weather because we will be still on some shallow waters. It's looking good. And for the rest of the voyage, the last part of the last part is looking real nice. So that's very good to know.
After less than 24 hours in Namibia, the ALP Striker already lifts its anchors again and embarks on the final stage of the mega transport. This leg of the journey will take the ALP Striker and its cargo from Walvis Bay in Namibia along the African coast around to Tenerife. They are scheduled to arrive in just 25 days. Almost 6,500 kilometers still lie ahead of them. But Neptune, god of the seas, is well disposed towards them. And so, early in the morning of day 90, the mega transport reaches its destination on time, the port of Santa Cruz, Tenerife. On its way from South Korea to the Canary Islands, the team has covered exactly 25,204 kilometers and crossed 3 oceans. All that remains is to loosen the connection to the rig.
For the disconnection operations, everything looks good. I don't expect any big problems. The weather is perfect, not much wind, not much sea.
On deck, the crew begins to haul in the chains. Then they loosen the connection, screw by screw. After 3 hours, it's done.
One moment, okay. Bollsta, Striker.
Striker, Bollsta, go ahead.
Yeah, well, after 3 months, that's finished.
Beautiful, appreciate all the cooperation, all the help. It was done in a full professional way. Everything was safely done. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, also same from our side. Happy to bring you over here, and let's hope till next time. Everything went safe. It was a long voyage, and now for us it's time to go home after a long trip.
Captain Case and his crew have done their job and delivered their valuable cargo to its destination on time and undamaged. The West Bollsta is now being prepared for its first drilling program. And for the crew of ALP Striker, it's time for some well-deserved rest until the next mega transport.